think an important point that I think is a driving point throughout your book, and that is they're a live band.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the industry is all about, at this point, they're about vinyl albums. You're selling albums. That's what you do if you make the big time with 3-minute cuts.
Yep.
And then they're playing on the radio.
And it's really the industry is still going for singles that would then drive album sales too. So like even the idea of a cohesive album, which the Beatles kind of give us with Sgt. Pepper's, is kind of still a new concept, at this point. But you're absolutely right. They're not. The Allman Brothers Band did put out 2 records, one in '69 and one in '70. They might have cracked 150,000 units between the two of them. They barely sold, and so the only way to reach an audience is through your recorded music or live. So they hit the road, and they were on the road probably 300 days a year for the first 2 years. It killed 2 of them, destroyed every marriage in the band, right? But the issue was, they were really, really, really good live, but if you listen to it on the record or on the radio, it just wasn't as good. So by their 3rd record, they said, we have to record this live. And for those of y'all who are not new to the Allman Brothers story, but you know about At Fillmore East as a record, it is not a live concert album like the Stones had Get Your Ya-Ya's Out at the time, is the one I use all the time, where all the songs meld together and it sounds like you're at a concert. They fade every song out, and it's because they're there. This is a studio session for them. It just happens to be a studio session in one of the biggest, most important venues in rock music at the time in one of the world's great cities of New York. So they recorded everything live, and they said, you're gonna listen to these songs as individual cuts, and they were not 3-minute cuts, right? They did not make the singles chart.
Yeah.
It was FM radio that would flip over and play a 22-minute song called Whipping Post, and apparently the DJ could go out and take a leak or go smoke a joint or something like that. Sorry, I don't know. So, but the story is right. They were live, and when you read the reviews as you go throughout the book, like of their studio records, it's all about any of those people. Most of them are all guys. There might have been a few female reviewers that I used, but most of them are dudes, and they're saying, like, if you've seen them live, this just does not even come close. And so
they know they need to make a live album.
That is the decision for the 3rd record. The make or break is we're going to go stand and we're going to record a live record. We're going to go out. And they were going to break up the band. The record company had a lot invested in them. And they weren't recouping any of that, So they decided, we have to record this live record. And that was the best decision. History has proven that.
Yeah. But it was a risk, right? It was a huge risk at the time because this wasn't a model of the industry to follow.
Now that is a great point. So the industry model for live records had been, they were like filler, right? So what happens in 65, the Beach Boys put out a live record that no lie, the only thing live is the audience on it. They literally re-recorded everything and piped in audience noise, right? And that's what makes record companies say, ooh, maybe we're going to make a little money on this because we can throw this crap out there in between tours. An artist who presents themselves as like their first record as a live album or their most important record as a live album, Johnny Cash did his records at the prisons. That sort of reestablished him, but most live records were just filler. And this was everything rides on this live record for the Allman Brothers. And by the way, they had never really sold anything prior to this. So like, who wants it live if you don't even like the songs to begin with?
They're almost like greatest hits in a way.
You want an Allman Brothers greatest hits, get out of Fillmore East, absolutely. It's got everything.
Yeah, but in terms of the industry,
yes.
If you're putting out a live album, it's almost like a greatest hits album
great
that
point.
you're putting out.
Fantastic point. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's and again, I use Get Your Ya-Ya's Out a lot because I love that record. And it sounds like a great Rolling Stones concert from 1969. It's right before this era. But it fools you into thinking it's a live Rolling Stones show. It's not. And there's a lot of overdubs on it, too. And there are no overdubs on that Fillmore East.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most amazing parts of it. And it winds up being a double album that they sell.
Yes. For the single album.
Yeah.
Jen, you did your homework. So, here's the other one. They get the record and they realize, oh my God, we have so much quality here, we need to release a double record. Now, a double album is twice, it's not quite twice the price of a single record back then, but it's not cheap. And Jerry Wexler, who was at Atlantic Records, he was co-owner of Capricorn and Atlantic distributed it, when he's told they're going to make a double album, Jerry Wexler says, and I quote, "Not every note is vital to our heritage." Because it's expensive. What Phil Walden, the record company, Capricorn at Allman Brothers Record Company, decides to do is he offers a deal to Wexler on the publishing of the songs that Greg Allman and Dickie Betts wrote that are on the thing. So it actually cost the Allman Brothers Band a lot of money, the two songwriters, because so that they could afford to put out the double album at a single album price. The argument being, this is the people's band, which is another thing I'm really proud of in the book, because I heard that years ago and I was like, that's really cool, let's look at that. And I actually talked to some marketing and promotions folks and they said it was really never a campaign, it was just what we said. It's the people's band. So the people's band is going to charge you the best double album you've ever heard in your life for a single album price. It was a genius marketing.
Yeah.
And I mean, who knows if that's why it's sold or it's caliber of the records or they captured this. I mean, there's a million, like talking to you yesterday, about why Green Book is so successful here, right? Is you don't really know and you can't control it, but when it happens, you just ride the wave, right?
It's magic.
Yes.